Ladies and gentlemen, welcome! My name is Dragndrop and this is day 2 of the Hitbox Elite Cup. We are here with a winner's match, Fantastic 5 versus Yellow Submarine. The winner of this will move on in the upper bracket. The loser, though, will drop down to the lower one, and of course, we all know what that means. That means it's only one game away from elimination. A little bit of a harder road, but hey, that is not right now. Both of these teams have shown some good Dota yesterday, so we can't say who's end up going to win, but that's what why we're here to find that out. And I'm not alone
10
today.
seconds to
I'm joined
go.
by Chicago Ted. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well, dude.
5
I'm
seconds.
excited to be here. I think I casted Fantastic Five not too long ago, and they showed some fantastic
Reserve
Dota,
time.
pardon the pun. And they played yesterday too versus Stake, right?
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
they
and
did.
they stomped them, if I'm like not mistaken.
They
Not
did stomp
stomp,
them in
but
game two, but in game one was a little bit
Dire's
more
been
back and forth. Stake had a for the longest for quite a while.
destroyed.
It actually looked like they would come back into the
Dire's
game and
been
take it. But Fantastic Five in the end kind of collected themselves and
10.
well just used what they had
Radiant's
available to
been
them as well as they needed to actually still take the win in a methodical late game kind of Dota way. So they once again go for the Vengeful Spirit. We also talked to Zeke yesterday, so if you missed that interview, go ahead and check it out in the VODs here in Hitbox and also on YouTube. And he said, well, just gonna go pick the Vengeful Spirit as a carry first, and then they're still versatile enough to put that into that support position if they feel like Vengeful
10
Spirit
seconds to
carry
go.
doesn't really work with a draft developing. So yeah,
5
already strong
seconds.
opening over here.
I love that. I really do. It's one of my favorite things when you can pick up a hero like that
Reserve
just can
time.
play every position very well. Like it's sort of like the Tusk pickup, except Tusk is a little bit more set in what he's got to do. He's either offlane or roamer. That's pretty much it. You can't run him as a carry. You can't really run him as a mid. You could try, but it probably wouldn't work out. Venge, though, I mean, you can run her as a carry. You can run her as a mid. I'm not sure if I've seen it done, but it's possible. You can run her as the offlane. You can run her as a support. It's a wonderful pickup for this meta right now. And if you grab it first, you really don't worry, aside from maybe any potential hard counters, which what really hard counters a Vengeful Spirit as far as every countering every single way she can be played. So it's a great pick that they've got. Oracle will be picked up by Yellow Submarine though, which is a little bit more of a left field pick. Okay, maybe not now, but if you were to go in maybe a month ago and say, yeah, Oracle will be first picked, I'd laugh at your face. So now
Yeah,
that it's picked up here, it's got its niches that it can fill. Gyrocopter is definitely a hero that it
Radiant's
can
been
synergize pretty well with, since Gyrocopter likes to build either damage or tank, can't really go for both. So Oracle will help him kind of tank up a little bit in the same way a Dazzle might preserve your life a little, but uh, overall, if the Venge gets a lot of
10
damage out
seconds to
very soon,
go.
I think the Gyrocopter is going to be left in the dust.
yeah. But yeah, if you actually
5
really think about
seconds.
the Oracle, is kind of an upgraded version of the Dazzle with this. Well, it's his
Yep,
ultimate, so it's a little bit of longer cooldown than Shell
Reserve
Grave is. But
time.
if you think about it, at the very least, it'll keep you alive for another 7, 8, or 9 seconds, even longer
yep,
than Shell Grave. And that's more than enough time for Gyrocopter to well, get the cooldown out if he's the one initiated on and hasn't had the chance to
Dire's
do that yet,
been
or just get the flak cannon shots, do damage like
yep.
that, maybe an extra rocket barrage or two, that kind of stuff that the Oracle can provide you with. Not to mention the kind of healing that Oracle himself can do, which is also being amplified by the false promise. So that might even keep you
Yeah.
alive,
10 seconds to
especially if you
go.
combo that up with even other forms of healing, like the standard mechanism, Witch Doctor, Dazzle, all these other kind of healing
Radiant's
heroes.
been
Or if you want to go more aggressive, you pick up an Undying that can also kind of do that part. So there's plenty of ways it can use that, and that's why I really like the Oracle pick. That's why I think that teams like to run him and pick him up early, just because he has that kind of
Dire's
utility, not just
been
with the
Yep.
keeping alive part, but also with the nuking part. Purifying Flames has been shown to be very hard to deal with sometimes, just as a finisher
Mhm.
on long range. Fate's Edict utility is there, Unfortunate End as well. Nice little disable and a purge as well in one go.
10
Yep.
seconds to go.
Well, the nuke and the purge too, like you nuke them and then you get rid of
5
the
seconds.
healing aspect of it
Yep.
is it's just immensely strong. And as a support,
Reserve
it doesn't end
time.
up becoming that much of a problem because you don't get fast levels. But if you've got like an off lane or a mid oracle, which was kind of done back when he first came out, but I'm not sure it's viable anymore. it can hurt. And it can hurt a lot. But I like your comparison to Dazzle. And I think, yeah, it's almost like an upgraded version of Dazzle. The only difference is Dazzle focuses more with the armor side of things, whereas Oracle focuses more with just being a general nuisance.
Yep.
Imagine both of them together. I don't condone that, by the way. I don't think you should actually do that. But if you were to do that, theoretically, you would have an unkillable core. Like, just
Pretty
go
much,
for
yeah.
someone that raw glass cannons and let them tank and absorb everything. Now, of course, you have to position perfectly so you didn't die yourself, but yeah, it's kind of funny how that works. In
I
the
mean,
meantime, though, Broodmother Tusk is taking out Beastmaster Doom. The Tusk still looks to be a little bit more of a lingerer nowadays. I don't think he really got taken away as far as his power curve goes, but the fact that he's a second ban, not even picked up in the first phase, is just kind of interesting now.
yeah, it's more so that other heroes are more in the forefront than the Tusk is, and teams still
Yeah.
like to try and integrate the new heroes, especially since the 6.86B came out. You have to Doom. We've seen it yesterday as well a couple of times with reasonable success, I guess, when it comes to his effectiveness with the new skill. It's actually quite a lot of damage if you think about it with that max HP part that Infernal Blade has. So teams are just trying to find new strats, and Fantastic Five looks like they want to run a similar strat as they did yeah, yesterday in the first game. They had also the Chen, also the Sand King. Lone Dude has been banned out, so Yellow Submarine already taken out maybe the biggest part of that particular strategy that Fantastic Five wanted to run. Just having the heals, having the initiation, and that big tanky bear in front just to be able to knock down towers. So curious to see what Fantastic Five want to pick up now to replace the Lone Druid. Maybe go for Tiny for that similar kind of tank ability.
Yeah, they definitely can go for the tiny here, and uh, it, it it could work. I don't think you run it as anything other than maybe the mid or the carry. Without the IO, they can't exactly run him as a mid because his sustain is just awful. But if you were to give him something like, I guess the Sand King makes it a little bit easier, but I was thinking more along the lines of a Bane to set up his stuns, then maybe it's a lot easier to run him as the core. But for right now, if they were to pick him, he'd be more of just a raw farmer, and that'd be it. Um,
Yeah.
so if they got to be very careful of the constant aggression that can come in from the Darkseer and the Oracle, which Tiny can't deal with. He doesn't have a lot of armor, and his regeneration just kind of sucks, so he has to buy a lot of it. The Silencer now will help Fantastic Five just become nuisances themselves. They've got a lot of damage over time coming out from him. His Q is just annoying as hell now because, well, it's guaranteed damage. But
Yeah.
in the end, they've got ways to harass now that the Sand King may not have been able to accomplish on his own. It's
Uh,
gonna be it's gonna be a good lineup I think they've got, but I don't think they'll pick the tiny, but it definitely is possible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so far it's the same kind of lineup that they had, say, for the Lone Druids yesterday in the first game against Stake, and they did run the Silencer mid. BCC was running that, and at some point he went up to a ridiculous amount of damage here, 500 a
Yep.
hit, including the Glaze of Wisdom or something silly like
Yep.
that, even more at some point. Um, so I would assume Silencer for the mid, and then if you have that 1v1 matchup, you still see Silencer skip the Arcane Curse until much, much, much later, including BZZ. He didn't level it until he had to, just because he already put all the points in his stats as well by that point. But well, that's just more due to the fact that Last Word is
Yeah.
such a freaking strong nuke in a 1v1 matchup. Thing here is, if you look at the middle lane, Yellow Submarine have yet to pick up their hero unless they do want to run an Oracle in that position, which I don't really think. But they also have the Bounty Hunter to try and help out, to try and harass out the Sounds. And they also have that cheeky little interaction in the off lane together with the Darkseer, with the Surge and the Iron Shell on the Bounty Hunter, just to be super annoying. But it's also a little bit of throwback to when Chen was popular. Bounty Hunter was picked up just to keep track of him, make sure that you see him rotate, just leech XP, maybe a couple of last hits here and there from his own jungling. So that Bounty Hunter, I feel like it's a really good pick there from Yellow Submarine, not just against Sansa, but also against that Chen. Uh,
Yep.
Kind of bringing back the old school counters that have been figured out back when that hero was popular.
It's good also against the Venge too. I mean, Venge, she gets a lot of armor, but stays fairly squishy for the majority of the game until you really get her items up. Sand King as well, kind of squishy until he gets something other than a Blink Dagger. So the Bounty Hunter is going to have a heyday.
10
If he can
seconds
get
to
the
go.
tracks off on the Sand King, if he can get the Silencer get a good
Radiant's
position onto
ahead.
him, he'll just be able to run him down and bring him down. Fantastic Five, they will end up going for the Bane, which it's not to set up a tiny stun like we talked about earlier, just to set up something like a Sand King's Impale, because that's one of the longest multi-target stuns
Yep.
in the game. It's fantastic, but the
Oh,
Bane
or
will
even
be able
just a
to set.
Chen, right? Or even just a Chen running in with
Oh
like
yeah, I
his two
mean,
or three centaur creeps.
you've got Shen, Venge,
10
and
seconds
Sand
to
King. That is
go.
a
Yeah.
very, very potent lane. Even just, yeah, as you said,
5
even just the
seconds.
Chen and the Sand King were to rotate with the Bane in the mid game to go and get a kill on the mid
Reserve
laner
Shadow
or anyone.
Fiend.
Like a Shadow Fiend's going to have
Oh
an
yeah.
awful time because of this. The Oracle's going to have to make sure he's got TPs on him constantly because if there, in a split second you see a smoke reveal and a Bane's there, you have to respond or else that Shadow Fiend is dead. So Fantastic Five, they have a really strong ganking lineup that will find kills if the rotations aren't on point. Yellow Submarine, they seem like a bit more laid back. The Oracle is definitely going to be a little bit more aggressive, but the Darkseer is going to probably be sitting back, casting ion shells, doing the typical Darkseer thing. Bounty Hunter can't really find that many kills until he gets maybe 3 or 4. Level 6 is ideal, but sometimes you just can't get it fast. And Shadow
10
Fiend, he takes
seconds
a
to
little bit
go.
before his damage starts becoming scary. So
5
it's going to
seconds.
be a little bit more of a snooze fest on Yellow Submarine's side, at least for the first 5 to 6 minutes of the game. Whereas Fantastic Five, I think they're going to be stomping right out of the gate and looking to be early aggressors here.
I would definitely agree here. And yeah, looks like they Yellow Submarine, as you said, want to be laid back. They want to just try and farm up a little bit before to get to the point where they can really become bit effective. With the Darkseer getting these levels, with Artis also uh, on the Gyrocopter getting the call down up and running to make sure you have that counter initiation potential. And um, especially the Shadow Fiend, he needs to find his gold. But with the way that this middle lane is set up, with the Silencer probably being helped out by the Bane early, potential rotations from the Chen at any given time as well, he might not have that good time. And with the changes to the jungle, with
Alright,
some creeps
here
having
I
that
am.
magic resistance aura, and the nerf to the Shadow Fiend raises mana cost, not sure if that Shadow Fiend still has that easy comeback potential, or at least the potential to do it so quickly as he has been in 6.85. So it's kind of a little bit worried about that. But another thing that's left to say that is, if the Chen is in the jungle and if the Bane is helping out the middle lane, who's actually going to be helping out the Vengeful Spirit, right? If that's a solo lane, then that's actually can also actually be quite hard for him to survive there if Nicorol on the Darkseer decides to go aggressive and have some help from the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, if the Bounty Hunter's there, it's going to be tough for Sidori, but the Venge should be able to 1v1 this lane very easily. I mean, just being a ranged hero against a Darkseer makes it easy. If you deny everything, he gets nothing.
Yep.
So even though he'll get a little
30
bit of
seconds to
experience, which
go.
actually is a lot better than gold for the first couple of minutes, he still won't get gold. Which even though again, it's experience is better, you still want both. So it could be tough for the Darkseer to really be aggressive early on, but if the Bounty Hunter comes up top, that's when you start seeing problems for Sidoi. So looks like BZZ is just going to go for the top rune here. There's no real way to stop it. Bottom, it's going to go the way of
And
Yellow
here we
Submarine.
go.
As we don't see any action early, let's take a quick look at our complete lineup, starting with Fantastic Five here on the die side. Ghostic going to be taking on that offlane
Radiant
Sand
on
King.
one side,
Yol
Dire on
also
the other.
tagged up as Yu here on the Chen, looking to go into the jungle, which has already been warded up a little bit. But BZZ taking her back on a mid silencer from last night. And yeah, that leaves the top lane for Sidoi in a one position Vengeful Spirit, and that only leaves Arzik looking to support him on the Bane.
All right, taking a look at not really the other side of the river right now, just figuratively. Bounty Hunter is going to be played. Okay, what's that guy's name?
That's Goretz.
Goritz. All right,
Yep.
Bounty Hunter is going to be played by Goritz. We've got Silhouette on the Shadow Fiend with Nicoril playing the Darkseer. PSM is going to be on the Oracle, who might actually die here, and Art's going to be on the Gyrocopter.
Yeah. Shelling up the Fortune's End just to force Ghost Stick back, not on anything else. And Art is actually coming close, thinking about throwing out Rocket Barrage, but maybe not too worth it at this stage. Meanwhile, top lane Arzik, that's also the Iron Shell and Darkseer himself. This is a little bit of harassment as well, coming in from the Bounty Hunter, but also only having the Invis now and don't have that extra slow. No Orb of Venom either. And yeah, this mid lane silhouette actually being Scandal as well. Also still not tagged up with his proper name, but hey, we'll try to remember it.
That's going to screw me up. So Gorak, Scandal, and Yol are the three kind of outliers.
Yep.
BZZ is a little bit easier because, well, BZZ.
That's one way to put it. But yeah, we actually see the Bounty Hunter being here, and Bane not actually helping out Sans all that much. He's still level 3, still level 2 last word, and we actually have one of the Chen creeps helping out by the looks of it. That's Tornado kind of trying to zone out Silhouette. Also interesting use of that creep. Hey, when you don't use it to farm, you can do that at the same time. Got Yol in the jungle. 3 heroes around him, there's the slow. The disable coming out from PSM Artist, trying to get in range for Rocket Barrage. Had the missile going even. That'll get them in range for sure to get a couple of Rocket Barrage damage out. A couple of right clicks should do the trick. Haystone being snagged with Bounty Hunter just to add insult to injury. That'll be the first blood here. Artist claiming it, and well, that's my bet. Actually, I did bet on Yellow Submarine getting first blood, so I want some virtual money.
You're a betting man now.
I just had to show it for eSport Gaming, so for our sponsors.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So if Fantastic 5 still win the series, then I actually won money. Well, it's not not my money. So.
Gotcha. All right. Maybe you should have bet then.
Either way, it's way too scary for me, man. I don't do it.
This is a very very
middle
common
lane.
thing
Last
to do.
one on top of Silhouette, a couple of extra right clicks. Brain Sebisa coming off. It is. Hey.
Yep.
Just harassed out.
You said it yourself. Last Word is a fantastic spell for a 1v1 lane, and the only times you would ever get cursed with a silent were back before when it had the mana drain and you were against a couple of casters. That's when it became useful. But now that it's just damage, you get more out of Last Word. So.
Well, kills all over the map here. They do claim Ghost. They just got the tail end of that. Looks like also PSN is channeling up. And Artist coming in close for level 2 Rocket Barrage now, which is quite a bit of damage. Yol is back to take over to claim some of that experience on last hits. The Satire Tormentor in the front.
Yep, now they're going on BZZ in the mid, though. They should be able to get him. They've got the slow from Gorak, and yeah, they're just going to kind of run him down. They've got the raise to pop him close, and looks like Gorak will be able to get away at low HP. Wait, Gorak or Yol? No, Yol is UU.
Gorak, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yol is
so.
It looks like he wants to deny himself to the Ancient Creeps. Yeah. Just waiting to spend his money, even buying another Fairy Fire. That was pretty damn close as well. The Invis, he was Invis and the tower just had the last shot connecting, but of course him fading outside of the true side range meant that it didn't actually connect, so. Lucky for him, 3 for 1 at the very end. As the game goes on. Now Chen trying to rotate, he has a double damage rune, maybe not the scariest on this hero. Then again, he has quite a high attack range. Hits for 108 damage now, which can make the difference up against Shadow Fiend, who is rather squishy early on. Also has a Satyr and a Centaur, just needs some sort of initial slow. It's also the Bounty Hunter scouting him out, so these kind of shenanigans wouldn't be working.
Yeah, there were
this time.
a couple of things that worked awful for Fantastic Five there. The first was that Sand King got in position a little bit too early. If Yol was any closer, Sand King could have just impaled right there, and they would have gotten the kill. But because he was so early, the tower might have killed him if they were to initiate, and that would not be good because he would have died, and the Shadow Fiend may have been able to live since the Centaur wasn't quite there to stop after it. So.
Yep. Silhouette once again eating last words, about a third of his health points. The creeps are coming in. I think they do see Goretz here. They do now as he puts the damage onto BZZ. The creeps trying to help out as well, but can actually just right click him down. The Invis is there, and yeah, the last bit of right click will do the trick before he can actually fade into the Invis. Last little kill, an extra 2 intelligence for the silencer, and that's something that you cannot ignore. Whenever you have a core silencer, It's like a Legion commander in many ways. If you don't get
Yep.
these dual wins, then you're just not gonna scale. Similar kind of story for a silencer.
Oh, top lane now. They find Nicorel with a Nightmare, and Sidori's just going to come out with a magic missile. Now, Nicorel's pretty damn tanky. They're looking for the Brain Sap to follow it up, but in comes Gorix. Nicorel popping in with the salve will get canceled by the terror, wave of terror. That's it. Magic missile now out on a Gorix. They might be able to get him. They will. The Brain Sap to secure it. And now Nicorel, he's still in. They find him, and they'll chase him down. He's got nowhere to run but further and further into trouble. So it looks like he will go down, just trying to get a little bit of extra damage off. They find him again. They get the damage off, and they will bring down a second on the top lane. A very nice series of aggression, but also Yol coming up for that gank. Fantastic play from Fantastic Five.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just rotating everywhere. I mean, sometimes we see Shen's just, alright, we farm on jungle, then we maybe just gank the safe lane once or twice, but he's been in the bottom lane trying to help out there, he's been in the mid lane looking for stuff, and now finally finding something worthwhile up in the top lane. Up to a point where you can't really expect him to be anywhere in particular, so you always get caught off guard if you're a little submarine, more or less, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So, yeah. Working out their way. Even Goretz trying to help ends up feeding himself with the detection at the ready. Vengeful Spirit's done, and yeah, that's the core Venge who's had a lane to his own, so Doyle 3 points up into the magic missile. That's actually quite a lot of damage, especially for a bounty hunter that is barely level 3.
Yeah, Magic Missile is a fantastic amount of damage. It only lacks in its stun duration, so it's less than 2 seconds across all 4 levels. So that is one of the worst stuns. It's definitely not the worst by any means, but it makes up for again, in that huge amount of damage that it's able to output. So it also will scale incredibly well with her raw damage output. So even though it's kind of magical damage, she's still got a high amount of physical to follow it up. And now she'll swap back, and this should be a kill on a Nicorel. I mean, we mentioned it. That nuke is huge. They've got him with a troll trap, and they will Centaur Stomp to bring him down. You're going to steal that kill, though, with his Test of Faith, but I don't think they really care. A kill is a kill, and that's going to put Nicorel very far back.
That is true. He's still level 6 Darkseer, so he's got his levels, but compared to Ghostik, who's also level 6 and hasn't died quite as much, only died once so far. But now, might die a second time, being slowed up, but hey, Burst Strike is a pretty good skill when it comes to trying to escape as well. Not to mention the Sandstorm that he has as well, the do-do-do, to help him juke.
Okay.
Yeah, Fantastic 5, they're looking good on all fronts. They tried to go on Ghostik a little bit earlier. At the same time, the kill on Nicorel happened, so didn't quite end up working out though.
Yeah, smoke up again though. Yol and Zeke will go for another kill. This is a lot of aggression coming out. I think we mentioned it in the draft, but I didn't think they were just gonna continuously look for stuff. If they get this nightmare, they get the kill.
Scandal is dead. That's a nightmare, and look at this army as well. There's the net, there's not one but 2 Centaur Storms. Global Silence just to give them the covering fire. BZ still dropping low to the Bounty Hunter. Will get the nuke off to finish him, but already got caught with the detection, but they just don't have the chasing potential at this point anymore to keep going, already having spended the troll net.
Yeah, and the Clarity was not able to give enough mana for the Nightmare in the meantime. He was looking for it, but boy does he wish that Fairy Fire right now was a mango.
Yeah.
But in the end, I mean, the Fairy Fire is great. Don't get me wrong. The damage, as well as the ability to burst heal in a scenario that you could be in trouble in. Like, Silencer had a Fairy Fire, and he would have lived that engagement if he had used it. Also, a Magic Wand. So,
Yeah.
actually, the Magic Wand may have been off cooldown or on cooldown. But in the end, I mean, he probably could have lived in that mid lane if he were to pop one of those consumables, and that could have turned that fight completely. I mean, if he doesn't die, then Gorix does. Yeah. So you get a double kill for nothing, and you win that engagement. Because it was a 1-for-1, a mid for a support, a mid for a mid is not ideal, but they got the kill first, which means they did come out a little bit on top. Still, you've got to be very careful of trades like that, especially when you're aggressive like this.
Yep. Well, at the very least, you do steal some of that intelligence from the Shadow Fiend, which is even more important now since the patch, because, well, he needs 15 more mana? Yeah, 50 more mana for each raise. If you take away his intelligence, obviously, he's not gonna be spamming them out as much as he wants to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ghostic is being chased by Gorix here, just getting some getting information for his team, getting all the rotations logged in a way so that they know where that Sand King is at all times. It looks like he was trying to take an invisible path or a lack of vision path
Well, they see him
through the
though.
fog
They
of
saw
war.
him with the
Oh
tower a little
God!
bit. And Trollnet to lock him down. And 2 Center Storms plus a Burst Strike. Nice little catch there from Yo. This just very, very good play, just having detection on your heroes. I mean, Yul
Yep,
right now is the only one that has it, but hey, he's the only one who needed it at that stage.
yep. If he's going to be everywhere on the map, you might as well give the detection to him. I do still
Yeah.
want maybe Ghostic or someone else to buy some extra detection so that you don't have to rely on the Chen, but still, that little bit of vision you get from the tower, I mean, it's got to be just a tad bit
Yep.
that you get. So he was able to correctly respond to that, instantly get the dust, and then troll trap away, and you can't run from that anymore. Double to Centaur stun to follow up, then the burrow strike. I think he didn't even get a second of reaction time. He just was chain stunned the entire time.
Absolutely. Well, despite all these kills now starting to go in favor of Fantastic 5, you still have the Gyrocopter. Arthur's on top of net worth chart, already finished up his Yasha after the phase boot, so yeah, what do you think his build is going to be? I mean, now he's TPing up to the top lane by the looks of it. Smoking up, so, well, whatever the build is going to be, he's looking to accelerate it by getting a couple of kills, getting involved, making use of these levels. Has a cooldown, max level rocket barrage. Maybe looking for Sadoy, who's also quite far ahead when it comes to net worth, at least on his team.
Yeah, it reminds me of the PRM style build where you went for the phase boots for some raw early game damage, then started building into attack speed, whether by the Mask of Madness, which was popular at the time, or just go for the Yasha, which is good for phase or good for attack speed and movement speed. So it's going to allow him to kind of build more DPS instead of set up for building DPS later in the game, which is what Treads will do better. They, even though they give a little bit of damage, they more give the attack speed and the chance to spam spells as well as tank if you need to. So going for this style of build, he recognizes he doesn't need to tank as much, just go straight for the damage, build it early.
Right, man, PSM, Fiend's onto Arthur, Global Silence comes out as well to make sure no one can actually help him. That's a quick kill for BZZ. PSM's trying to decide whether he can actually help, but not really. Now it's just being chased down by the right clicks, and yeah, Arzik wasn't even more control. It was just PSM indecisive whether he's actually able to help, sticking around a little bit too long.
Yeah, when you've got the global silence like that, you can't do anything about it, and that leads me to go on my original point before that even blew up was, yeah, you recognize that you've got all this tank from PSM, but then if that scenario happens where you just get global silence, PSM can't do anything to help him, and your lack of tank, even though it probably wouldn't have helped if he had picked up any extra tank items there because he was as good as dead, but you build raw damage like that, you open up to the possibility of PSM not being able to help you in time and just getting blown to bits and not having any impact.
Also good play from Arzik there. I mean, he went for Nightmare on PSM, then he must have realized, alright, there's probably someone else running about there. We haven't seen a Gyrocopter in the bottom lane for a while, so you can kind of expect that he wants to try and go for you with the skill set. So maybe short hitting in, Arzik just makes his way a little bit further north, gets the Fiend's Grip off, and then Global Silence. Easy in the general area as well to benefit from that. So just all around good execution from F5. They do.
Oh, no.
Will they? They can't
So
get a range
close.
for stun though. Yeah.
They hesitated just a little bit, and now
Oh, there we go. That's also a big price. Is Scandal caught with the swap and the follow-up stun. No way to get out of this. The mini ult actually does quite a bit of damage cooldown on top of that too, but they should be able to make it out even though they're super slow. There's no follow-up with Shadow Fiend already dying there. Yeah, that might mean another tier 1
call down.
Yeah, that should still be another tier 1 with the Chen Creeps. I mean, it's a troll and 3 centaurs at this point. This is not exactly the kind of pushing Chen that we've seen, where the tier 1s just die before the 10-minute mark. It's more of a ganking type of Chen to get the pickoffs and then benefit from that with tower pushes. So a little bit more of a classic way to go for it, but it's definitely working out for them today.
Yeah, but now they got to be careful about this disengage. People are TPing out, and if Yellow Submarine wants to try to turn on them, they probably could. Looks like they won't do it right now. All that's going to happen is Korg's going to sit on the top lane, staring down Ghost Stick.
Oh,
Still
Nickerel.
no tracks on this bounty hunter
Why?
route.
Oh, he
Oh
saw
no.
them coming, didn't look at the screen or something. Now it's just gonna be chain stunned down. His brain tap, metal vacuum before he can get it off, but even Phoenix Group committed just to make sure that no further shenanigans. But that's a level 1 wall, it's not gonna do too much. Artis now with a cooldown, maybe can turn it around onto Azik. There's also one of his illusions, but there's also the Nightmare just to try and keep him away. The level 1 rocket's not really going to do too much. And now Ghoststick with a stun. Global Stance comes out as well. BZZ starts to right-clicking. Artis will not take out due to the last word thanks to his stick charges. Silhouette at the same time on the back, looking for ways, looking for razors to come in. We'll get it off on Azik, but he's just too far behind to really be as scary as he sometimes could be. Oh, as we've seen, Shadow Fiends can be at this stage in the game, but he doesn't quite have the net worth. He wants to be like 2-3k gold ahead. Instead, he's a little bit behind even.
Yeah, now it looks like Chen. I turned away from that one, but it seems like he had lost most of his creeps in that last fight. He's still got a Wild Wing, which maybe, yeah, I think he just pulled from this camp. But what happened was he netted the Shadow Fiend and then threw all of his creeps on him. And the Shadow Fiend's like, guys, I deal well with creeps. Raises them and then kind of like puts him down.
Sidoi almost got a swap off there, and Shadow Fiend looked like.
That could have been problematic, but it looks like they won't get it. Artis, right now, I think he's going to be building into the Sanjin Yasha with the pickup of the Ogre's Belt of the Giant Strength, rather. And that helps.
Oh, hello, Blink, Burst Strike. False Promise already committed on to Scandal, but now there's a swap back into Tower Range. Sidoi, though, caught with the cooldown as well as the slowdown from the Oracle, but he does get out of range, but Scandal still alive thanks to all of that. Nyol being locked, caught out by Artis with a Rock Barrage. Azik trying to go for the Fiend Scope, but the other Submarine is just running them down. 1, 2, 3, everyone's tracked up too. Sidoi, next one to fall is Artis, still chases under the tower. The stun will hit in Scandal, and another stun from Sidoi himself onto Artis to keep at least them away. Diving tier 3s almost, when the tier 1 is still alive, but they will now go back to that to finish it off. That's a little exchange, especially with all the track kills that they've got, at least one or two, I believe.
They honestly thought they were going to win that exchange. I don't know. Right now, the silencer BZZ, he was in a bad spot, was about to die, and then he got sent back to base. And then he TPs in aggressively on the tier 2, and then dies anyway.
Yeah.
So he honestly thought throughout the entire thing that they'd be able to turn it around to get a couple of kills, so he's going to TP in and steal the intelligence. But what ended up happening was he ended up just straight feeding. So a really well-played maneuver from Yellow Submarine, recognizing that they were ahead at that point in the fight to just continue taking it, and they just dove past everything to go for as many kills as possible, and they weren't punished for it. So fantastic from them. They find the hole in Fantastic Five's playstyle right there, and they exploit it. We'll see if they can do it again. Fantastic Five, though, they're taking no prisoners. They want to go in for that Roshan, but Yellow Submarine, it seems like they're in a little bit of position to try to scout it out. They don't have any raw vision of it, though, which is the problem. I don't think they know for sure it's going on, but they have an inkling of an idea.
Yep. Well, if they go for a team fight right now, though, that should turn out differently, just because BZA, his Global Silence came off cooldown, which was one of the, cooldown in the pit. They still think that they are in there, so smoked up, just waiting for any sort of sign that FF is still doing Roche, but they managed to make themselves a pretty big Ancient stack now, try and farm it up. Don't have the easiest way in a sort of splash damage, so that's why we see them all just right-clicking them down with the help of the minus armor from Vengeful Spear, but still taking them quite a while. Definitely the easier thing to do, rather than trying to chance a Roshan when Yellow Submarine is ready for it. They do have the Darkseer with the vacuum wall.
Yeah, it's necessary too. Yellow Submarine can probably just go for the Roshan, but they absolutely cannot steal that Ancient stack. If they wanted to steal it, they could, and that'd be a huge problem. That's a lot of gold to swing the other way if you give it up. So they had to take it right there, and unfortunately, they've got no quick way to do it. So if they were to continue doing it, they lose towers, they lose map control. So this is they put themselves into a difficult spot. Now, Ancient stacks are always great. You don't want to be upset about having one this big, but it comes down to whether or not it was logistically the right idea to give this huge money pit for the enemy to possibly steal that you can't quite take yourself.
And with them just trying to trying to take it out themselves, taking so
Yep.
much time. It's as I said, they get a lot of map control. Scandal, with everything that's been happening, he's gotten up to the top of that bird shot now. They're running high ground. Not sure if that's the best idea. Fiends go after the stun, but false promise and the BKB. Perch it all off. Global Silence used just to give Yellow Submarine pause to think, but now that's down. BZZ still caught and doing all of that. Not sure where he came from. Yeah, that's also an end to all the chain creeps who, and now Arthas, yes, running him down. Yul, he will end up falling here. Mechanism or not, just a couple more right clicks. Should do the trick. The high ground can't reach it in time. Ghostic with a stun also. Not quite there. RZ gets a nightmare here onto the Bounty Hunter, but doesn't have a freedom script to follow it up with anything. And it's still a full 5-man line for Yellow Submarine in this general area. And of course the Oracle just doing his best to heal up the Gyrocopter very effectively. And now, still a couple of Ancients left. They're gonna take them.
Yep.
Some of the big ones as well.
If there was any doubt in your mind that Yellow Submarine had taken the advantage in this game, it should be gone now. They walked in there with a purpose. They knew exactly what they had to do, and they executed. The initiation would be on Silhouette. They knew that, so they had the false promise ready to go. And once that purged off the initial, then Silhouette just BKB'd and went for the rest of it.
They
so
might get
now
Gorath
maybe a
here.
return.
Okay. That was a quick burst between the magic
Okay.
missiles was the brains up. It was nice easy pick off here.
Nice and easy is an understatement. That was a raw, just demolishing maneuver from them. So a little bit of a return kill. I think 633. I didn't get any intelligence off that one, actually. So it's unfortunately not as good as it could have been. Speaking of, BZZ is still trying to get all the intelligence he possibly can. 12 at 21 minutes is not great, but he's only been involved in 6 kills anyway. So that's the max he can have right now. It leads you to wonder whether or not Fantastic Five were as aggressive as they should have been, or not even as aggressive in the right spots. I mean, that could have made all the difference. It seemed like in the last couple of fights, they just didn't quite find the correct openings, and that made life very difficult for them.
Speaking of openings, Arzik is running into his death right now. Oh well, poor guy. Little did he know there was 3 or 4 heroes up there, but yeah. I guess at least it's the Bane and not BZZ. Or someone else running into that, I suppose.
And it's funny because Fantastic Five, by and large, has the vision advantage. I don't see a single observer ward on the map for Yellow Submarine, and yet they're the ones that are finding the better engagements, finding the initiations they need. It almost seems like they're guessing in every way where the enemy is, and they're getting it right every single time. There's only so many times you can do that.
BZZ vacuum back, Global Silence just to make sure that he survives, but that's actually going to be enough, Yol. And it's going to be enough to make him survive, but it's such a big commitment. That means that Yellow Submarine should be so happy, just very happy, just go back into the Roach Pit, or maybe just go and surge Arthas up. The Storm will miss, and now call down after the lockdown on BZZ. Tracks on top of him as well. Sadoi tries to swap him out, but that does not stop Arthas. He's just going to keep going. Now Sadoi tracked up too. Rocket Barrage down. Everyone is just right on top of him. No one inside of Fantastic Five in any position to try and help. Once again, Fantastic Five just getting run down here by Yellow Submarine.
Yep. And right as I say they don't have any wards, they put one down on the Roshan high ground, which
Yep.
gives an obscene amount of vision into every position that the Dire is at. That's your rating advantage right now around the Roche Pit. Everyone's like, oh, but it's on the Dire side. Doesn't that mean they have the advantage? No, none. This is what makes it Dire Radiance advantage. This ward gives them so much insight as to where in the world the Dire are. And they'll also drop down another observer right by the river, which should give a lot more vision around the pit as well. So the combination of these two wards is going to be fantastic and giving them as much information they need around the pit. Now that Roshan's down, they don't need it as much, but it still will give them a lot of insight onto Fantastic Five's side of the map and make life very difficult. However, Nightmare out into Nicaro, can they find anything off it? I don't think they can. Not
really, without the big damage shields there. Yol try to go in, but there's Vacuum almost back down to low ground again. Nicaro just keeps trying to find these, and there's a... oh wow, they're still locking down with PSL, the long range Fortune's End. Track on top of 2 people now. Arzik will be the first one to be raced down, in fact. Never mind, Oracle gets the kill somehow. But what can you do? You kind of just have to run. With 5 people are running at you, who at this point are tanky enough with all the gold that they've been able to get. And BCZ gets... okay, that was...
Yep. Yep.
1v1 there. Arthas versus BZZ sounds not really equipped for that kind of stuff, and just gonna keep going. They have that extra movement speed from the track, and I don't know how many track kills there were this game, but a lot of them were happening, that's for sure. And that's why we see the net worth swing so dramatically. There was about a 6k advantage for Fantastic 5 at one point. That was about a 10k swing now. Maybe even more, 12k with these towers falling too. Same kind of story for the experience. And well, Fantastic 5 looking good. Going into the mid game. Now, not so much. Yellow Submarine, they have the gold advantage that they needed. Now, if Shadow Fiend dies, maybe they can turn it around, but Arzik not want to go for the Fiend's group. Of course, with Oracle still behind there, having his entire skill set available, False Promise as well. Just making sure that Shadow Fiend doesn't die, even without the Aegis, just makes it so hard for Fantastic 5 to initiate. Vacuum once again down to the low ground, set up by this beautiful Observer Ward on the high ground. Arzik will end up falling. That's yet another track kill, and things just falling apart for Fantastic 5 right now.
Yeah, that could very well be the game. Silhouette still has the Aegis too, so even if they find to kill him once, they cannot kill him a second time, but they can't even kill him once. This PSM on the Oracle is being fantastic at making sure that he's not taking enough damage to go drop below critical. And so it looks like finally he'll be brought down first, but no, in comes the False Promise. Now with a call down, Art's going to go up the top lane, but Ghost are coming in with a beautiful epicenter. They've got the global silence as well, but there's no follow-up damage. They couldn't kill a single one of them. Now BZZ, he's dropping pretty low. He'll stay back, but there's nothing for them to do against this one. Ghosts are going to go in once again, but where is your backup? There's nothing. Silhouette now. Fiend's Grip out from Arzik, but they've got enough damage to block down Arzik. In fact, he locked himself down more than he locked Silhouette with casting that one, and he'll get brought down. Still Fantastic 5 cannot do anything. Ghost Stick will get spotted, and he'll get exterminated. GG.
Yellow Submarine just with so much sustain here in the end of it with Oracle. Yeah, pretty much just him. And plus the Guardian Greaves on the Darks here are more than enough to give them the edge that they needed to just keep going and keep going and going. Even though Ghostly, he found 3, 4, 5-man burst strikes at times with a beautiful epicenter and the global silence. At some point that wasn't enough anymore because you lacked the damage. Vengeful Spirit not really at a point where you could go in without fearing that you end up just being bursted down. Similar kind of story for a Silencer, so they didn't have that reliable damage follow-up, even if you do get that chain lockdown, or that big lockdown coming in from Ghostic.
It's the problem with drafting up a lineup of all squishy cores and nothing really to sustain damage here, because what they leave themselves in a position for is that they initiate, they can't match the same amount of sustain that Yellow Submarine can. So even though they might outdamage, which they really weren't, but let's say they might outdamage them, they don't outlive them. And that's where the fight turns around. We had the Guardian Greaves on Darkseer, who can farm it up very quickly. Oracle just doing Oracle things. We had the classic Urn of Shadows and Vladimir's offering on Bounty Hunter. There was no way you were going to outlive Yellow Submarine in any stretch unless you had four rapiers. So in the end, Yellow Submarine will take this victory just by picking up a lot better, a lot more solid cores. And I think Fantastic 5, they might have tried to cheese this Vengeful Spirit a couple of times, but this time it just doesn't work out.
All right, and with that, it's worth remembering that it is, in fact, the best of 3. So Fantastic 5, they have another chance to come back, maybe make it a tie, and maybe even still take the series. Yellow Submarine, though, have all reasons in the world to feel very confident. But hey, we'll find out what happens next as we'll head into game 2 in just a couple of minutes, so don't go anywhere.